Welcome to the 20th season of the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions. Our panel includes Neil Rudell of the Altoona Mirror and Mark Brennan of FightOnState.com. Between them, they've covered Penn State football for 70 years. The NitWits are hosted by WTAJ Sports Director Alex Colley, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm, and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics. Doctors Reed and Solani provide orthodontics for children and adults. By W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor. Go Penn State! By Allegheny Street Cigar. Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Lakeview Sheds and Vinyl in East Freedom. You can buy off our lot or we can customize your dream shed. By Shields Awards and the Sports Shop. We have a fantastic selection of awards, apparel, and memorabilia at great prices. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you can get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
And welcome to another episode of the NitWits. It is Penn State's bye week, so once again, we are joined by our usual suspects, Altoona Mirror's Neil Rudell, FightOnState.com's Mark Brennan. I'm your host, Alex Colley, but we are blessed to have Penn State Director of Athletics, Sandy Barber, join us once again. Thank you so much for making the time. We greatly appreciate it.
We've made it a bye week tradition.
Yeah.
Glad to be with you.
4 for 4, Sandy. Thank you.
Yeah, and also great to be here at the Penn State All Sports Museum. Great location. Second year we've done this, so this is a lot of fun.
Appreciate Jim and Jeff and all the people that made that happen here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And it seems like just last year we were talking about expectations for the football team. Little did we know that everybody would be at the Rose Bowl later this year, or later last year, or earlier this year. And now Penn State's off to a 6-0 start. How does that match up with your expectation for the team?
Well, I think that we've been pretty consistent and talked about from the beginning that the expectations for Penn State football should be national championships, should be pursuing national championships. Now, obviously, along the way, we had to ramp back up to that, and we're still in that process. We still have a long way to go. Obviously, last year a magical season. The win run after having started 2-2, the great Rose Bowl. We didn't like the end result, but what an incredible game. And then the expectations heading into this season, and one game at a time. We're sitting at 6-0 with a bye week, the opportunity to get some rest, focus on academics, get a little bit of prep work in, and then we get back at it with a pretty tough stretch. But I think that James's and his staff's approach to the 1 week at a time has really proved to be pretty spot on for us.
Sandy, how have you seen since that magical night against Ohio State where you blocked the kick and just how everybody had come together on and off the field and the result of that and the interest? How much have you guys noticed the vision of what you thought it could be come to closer to fruition?
There's no doubt that the Ohio State night was pretty incredible, but I think everyone in that locker room, and they're the ones that count, would tell you that it started against Minnesota. That it started with the overtime win against Minnesota, and they started to believe. And what they showed us, it's around the chemistry on this team. That's way more important than talent. You got to have talent. I'm not saying you don't have to have the talent. But there are a lot of teams that have talent that are not having the kind of success we are because they don't have the kind of chemistry that we have. And that was the key to last year's team. In that locker room, they showed us what happens when you love each other, when you have each other's back, when you believe, when you get through adversity, when you believe that together you can get through adversity. We've seen a little of that already this season. And this team has brought that character and that chemistry through to this year.
We hassled you, Sandy, for 9-10 months about James Franklin's contract. How important was it to get that done moving forward? And could you talk to people a little bit about, I think a lot of people who cover college football understand what it takes to keep a good coach locked up, but a lot of fans look at it and say, oh my goodness, you know, we're talking all these millions and millions of dollars. But that's really what you have to do to keep staffs together, don't you?
Well, absolutely, and staff continuity, so not just the head coach, but staff continuity is very, very important. You know, the extension was important for a lot of reasons. It was important as a signal to James, our commitment to him, frankly, his commitment to us. It was important from a recruiting perspective. It was important from those young men in the locker room that we just talked about, that they understood that there was going to be stability in this program, and important to our fans to understand we're on this trajectory, we're on this journey, and we're gonna keep the band together.
Yeah, and you know, to be fair, when there's a perception, I know you dismissed it. You were very adamant about it when there was a perception, say last September, that things weren't going well, and that was building in the among the fan base. Obviously, when things do go well, for you guys to be right there to recognize that, I thought that was important.
Well, I had already had discussions with the president and with the leadership in the board that at the end of the 16th season, we were going to be looking at a contract extension for Coach Franklin, and whether we were at 7-6 or whether we were 11-3, and so that's the kind of support that James has had and continues to have from this leadership, and it's really important that we send that signal to our fan base, to recruits, to our own locker room, to our own staff about our belief and our commitment.
Can you speak to the tangible benefits of what last season and early this season did in terms of season tickets, general interest in the program? Obviously, coming out of a very difficult time in this program's history, is it back a little bit quicker than you thought in terms of those things? Not just wins and losses, but filling up the stadium here, having the great TV interest, all of those things.
103,000 people for Georgia State on Saturday night.
And those things come with the success, and we knew that, and then again it was looking at what's that timeline to get us back there, but yes, our season tickets were up, our retention so new season tickets were up, our retention of our previous year's season ticket base was at a very, very good place, licensing dollars, fundraising, you name it, but let's not forget all of those resources, all of that revenue is to take those resources and invest them back in all 31 of our programs and all 800 of our student athletes, and helping them to prepare for what's next for them.
All right, well, we're going to take our first time out here on the NitWits, but when we return, much more with Penn State Director of Athletics, Sandy Barber.
The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm, and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By The Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name.
We now return to the NitWits. A roundtable discussion of Penn State football.
Welcome back to the NitWits. We are here with Penn State Director of Athletics, Sandy Barber. And again, thank you so much for your time. We've heard a lot about all the renovations going on around campus. We're seeing it at Panzer Stadium right now. What's it like to see it actually physically happening?
Well, what's really neat is to see it going up. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. Obviously, we spent almost a year and a half on our master plan with a lot going on behind the scenes, not much visible at all. But so when it actually starts to go up, that's a great feeling. See student athletes start to occupy the academics, the Morgan Academic Center, see what's going on in Lash. We're still in the planning stages for a number of those facilities, but Panzer will be in for the 19 season for sure. But obviously you're going to be able to watch that continue to go up. Lots of activity going on, continue on a daily basis in Lash with improvements there.
When that came out, Sandy, of course, the flagship being football, some people, immediately wondered, is it too far down the road for people to really start to feel it, or what was the vibe that you got from your fan base?
There was a lot. I would say the reaction was all over the board. From there are people that don't think it's necessary, so they're fine with however long we put it out. But
they
it
haven't
is
been in the press box for a warm Saturday.
That's right. But it's that's a massive project to what we're contemplating undertaking in Beaver. So that's going to need some runway. Even if we said it's the priority, it's the #1 project in order to actually do the design, put together the fundraising plan, then do the fundraising, and then start the construction, we're still talking about a number of years out, which is why we didn't put it in those first 5 years. Doesn't mean we won't be spending a lot of time on it, because we absolutely will. But we've chosen, obviously, smaller projects that are very important to those programs to put in that first 5. With the Center of Excellence, the new indoor facility, Jeffrey, indoor tennis, and the natatorium.
When you look at Beaver Stadium, Sandy, the people who spend some time there, you walk underneath, you see all the old pipes, and how much of an issue is that in terms of wanting to do what you wanted to do? Because this thing was kind of piecemeal together over decades, and I can't imagine fixing that stuff or replacing it is easy.
No, and the aesthetics of that are not the issue. The issue is the nuts and bolts and the upkeep and the maintenance and making sure that everything is in a good spot for 7 Saturdays every year. But it's about fan comfort, fan amenities. What does today's attendee want and demand from a stadium? We're competing more so than ever with a big HD 4K television and every game on television. We're really fortunate here at Penn State because we have such a great tradition of game day, and I think it's a much more compelling argument for people to come here to Happy Valley for a game in Beaver Stadium, and maybe come from distance. So we're fortunate in that way, and we want to keep it that way.
We talked about James's extension and just moving to some other sports. You locked up Cale Sanderson for the extended future. How much does that mean, and comment on the program, the dynasty that he is building?
Well, what Cale and his staff and those student athletes are doing is absolutely incredible. Cale is such a great fit for Penn State. It was great to officially get the signature on paper, but I have to tell you, there was never any concern on Cale's part that we were committed to him, and no concern on our part that Cale was going to be anything or anywhere but Penn State and a Nittany Lion. So obviously we've got the best wrestling coach in the country who is putting together a very good run of championship success, and that obviously will continue.
We've hit you with this on a lot of different levels, but just from a practical standpoint, what are your expectations for men's basketball this year? Rather than me saying, is somebody on the hot seat or whatever, what are your expectations for men's hoops?
Well, and I'll be consistent. You're consistent in asking the question. I'll be consistent in my answer. It's really about feeling like we continue to make progress, and it's no secret. I think getting to postseason this year really ought to be our goal. And what level that postseason is, I think, is probably up for debate. I do think we need to see progress within the conference, within what we do from a conference schedule standpoint. basketball coaches all over America can schedule differently in their non-conference to meet their needs, the ebb and flow of a particular program, and that's fine. So that's why I'm focusing on the Big Ten and looking to see us continue to make progress and move up there.
Because the non-conference schedule, I think the perception is this year that it's pretty well built for success.
Yeah, and there are needs in the cycle of the program absolutely to do that, and I'm fine with that. But I'm focused on the Big Ten.
And how about the women's program? Where do you see that right now?
Well, obviously that's a program under Coquisa's direction that's had a lot of success. We've obviously had a little bit of a dip. Started to see us come back last year, 20+ wins. So very, very pleased with that. But again, that's a program that needs to go to the NCAAs, compete for a conference championship in a very difficult and challenging conference, and get to the NCAAs and make some noise. I think we got a chance to do that this year.
All right, it is halftime here on the NitWits. We'll be right back with much more on Penn State Athletics.
The NitWits are brought to you by Monarch Cleaners for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics. Doctors Reed and Solani provide orthodontics for children and adults. By W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor. Go Penn State! By Allegheny Street Cigar. Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886.
I'm James Franklin, head football coach, Penn State University, and you're watching the NitWits.
And welcome back to the NitWits, where we are joined by Penn State Director of Athletics, Sandy Barber, and that's a title that wears a lot of hats. Obviously, a lot of demand with the fan base, the alumni, but also the student athletes. How do you find that balance?
Well, with 31 programs and 800 student athletes, that could consume every hour, every minute of every hour of every day. But obviously, we've got a lot of stakeholders that are all very, very important to us, and that all help make this thing go. But our focus has to be, our priority has to be everyday students, preparing them for a lifetime of impact, their safety, health, and welfare. And as I think I said before, we're in the leadership development enterprise. We're about human development and preparing them to be leaders and go out into the world and do great things. So we've got a great team here at Penn State, incredible expertise across the board, whether it's having to do with development or communications or any of the external functions, or those focused more inwardly on students. And I think most importantly, we've got a great culture and great values at Penn State to work off of.
Sandy, you've walked a really impressive balance, I think, since you've been there. Obviously, there were bridges to cross when you got here and rebuilding to do. But you've been recognized nationally consistently, and such an you're everywhere, whether it's a football game or some of the non-revenue sports. I'm curious, and I know it's taken me a little while here, but you didn't hire any of the major sports figures here, and yet you seem very invested and very supportive. How have you? Can you address that?
Well, Penn State did. Penn State hired him. Dave hired James, and very appreciative of that. So they're Penn State head coaches. I'm Penn State athletic director of athletics, and my job is to help them be successful, help support them. And so that's how I look at it. I have never taken the approach that that's not my guy or that's not my girl, or my institution hired them, saw something in them, and it's my job to help them be successful. And I think our team, our leadership team, our management team, all of our support staff really view that. All 31 of our sports, all 31 of our head coaches, we're here to help them be successful, because they're the ones that are transferring that to student athletes, who are our primary priority and purpose.
They're telling us we only have like a minute in this segment, so
Sorry.
this may be a tough one. But what are some of the biggest challenges facing an AD at this point? We only have to pick up the newspaper to see how difficult things can be. From your perspective, if you could do it quickly, what are some of your biggest challenges?
Well, the challenge is for me to do it quickly. I think there are really two primary ones. One is health, safety, and welfare of your students, whether it be their medical care or whether it be their academic advising. That's our primary concern. We have to resource that. We have to focus on that. The other would be doing everything we do with integrity. Obviously, a lot of challenges around that from an industry standpoint. But we have to focus on that. We have to be committed to it in hirings and everything we do every day.
All right. Well, it is almost that time on the NitWits where we look ahead to next week and make our big predictions. We're going to take a look at the Nittany Lions against the Wolverines when we return.
The NitWits are brought to you by Lakeview Sheds and Vinyl in East Freedom. You can buy off our lot or we can customize your dream shed. By Shields Awards and the Sports Shop. We have a fantastic selection of awards, apparel, and memorabilia at great prices. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you can get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
And welcome back. It is now Penn State, Michigan week, primetime, whiteouts. This is what it's all about.
Oh, amen. I mean, what a best case scenario. Come in 6-0. I mean, we talked last week that maybe there would have been a toe stubbing, along the way. But to get here 6-0 and have an open date, rolling into a night game, I mean, I think it's going to be one of the great atmospheres that these whiteouts have been.
I know,
great opportunity.
Yeah, Sandy, I know you probably take every game one at a time, but what's it like for you for these types of games, the whiteout and everything else?
This is why we all do what we do, is to have the opportunity to showcase excellence on a stage like this. And, I've been really fortunate. I've been at some great places. I've had an opportunity to go into some great stadiums, into some really great environments from a football standpoint. I've never seen anything like a whiteout at Penn State. And I think of the three that I've seen, this one's going to take it to another notch.
So
we're looking at we want to let people know we're taping this before Michigan actually plays Indiana because it's our bye week.
It's our bye.
Yeah, we want to take a little time off. So we're going to dive into predictions. And who was the nitwit of the week last week? I forget.
It's the chair.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah. I'm thinking, based off what I saw with Michigan State, I'm thinking Penn State takes it. I'm going to go 37-20. Nittany Lions over the Wolverines.
Wow, you're rolling a high number. High number for me anyway. And it's a 3-horse race, so this is really an opportunity to gain ground on the guest nitwit because Sandy, we offered her a chance to pick Penn State. She's picking Penn State.
Not giving us score.
I think it's you watch Michigan. They're a tough defense, and Penn State has maybe struggled to establish moving the ball as consistently on the ground. I'm going to say a little lower scoring. I'm going to say Penn State 23, Michigan 14.
Wow. Michigan State had the benefit of 5 turnovers in that game, and I don't think Michigan was nearly as bad as it looked. Still, Penn State can be playing with a lot of emotion after last year's game. I don't think Michigan did anything classless the way Michigan State did a few years ago, but I think Penn State's going to be ready. Don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I look for it to be something like 23-20, Penn State winning on a late field goal by Tyler Davis. Redemption is his to break a tie and win the game.
All right. Well, Sandy Barber, thank you so much for joining us once again, and thank you for watching. We hope to see you back here next week.
The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, an independent firm, and a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker, no one will work harder to sell your home. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By the Allegro, where fine cuisine is a way of life. By Health South, your rehab choice. Health South Altoona, ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, uniform, and mat rentals. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics. Doctors Reed and Solani provide orthodontics for children and adults. By W.S. Lee & Sons, your local food distributor. Go Penn State! By Allegheny Street Cigar. Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Lakeview Sheds and Vinyl in East Freedom. You can buy off our lot or we can customize your dream shed. By Shields Awards and the Sports Shop. We have a fantastic selection of awards, apparel, and memorabilia at great prices. By EasyToUse.com, your Yellow Pages connection in print and online. By FightOnState.com, as close as you can get to Penn State football without putting on a helmet. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.